Oh, hey Megan, we're just reading the story right now.
Oh, okay. Could you move over?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mrs. Drake just emailed us the prompt. Does anyone want to read it? Luke?
Okay, Bethany, I'm gonna read it. In the story Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick, a character named Chang-bo is punished for violating laws as a citizen of North Korea. Address Chang-bo's predicament and why his situation has come to be. How does this contradict the United States First Amendment? How would a comment similar to Chang-bo's have been dealt with in the United States? Use text and past experiences demonstrating how people are treated in both countries. Anybody have any ideas? Clay, Megan, Truman?
Okay, before we start answering this, we need to address what she wants us to do. So it says here, how does this contradict the United States First Amendment?
Well, does anyone know what the First Amendment is?
I wanted to look it up, so I found that it was freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and the right to peacefully assemble in the U.S.
So he doesn't have the right to speak like this. So does that mean that in the story, what happens is that Chang-bo makes a comment which is kind of illegal?
He says, if there's so many boots, how come my children never got any?
Why was he making this comment?
He was making this comment because he was watching a news report on a factory making boots, and the government didn't issue his family boots.
So he was angry because the government isn't giving him boots, but it's showing that they have the boots.
Yeah, so it's basically like false information.
What countries are similar to North Korea, and what shows same situation?
I was actually wondering that too, so I searched it up and found that the United Kingdom, Afghanistan, China, and India also don't have First Amendment rights.
So the next part of the prompt talks about what would happen if Chang-bo made this comment in the U.S. Should we address that now?
Well, okay, so if Chang-bo made a comment like this in the United States, with our First Amendment, I think that other people could in fact agree with him. We have the right to assemble, so if people wanted to protest this specific and exact problem or situation, then they could in fact do that.
Also, with this information, we can address how Chang-bo's situation came to be.
So first off, what gets him in trouble, Chang-bo, is having his own opinion that really isn't commonly shared among his people. Because you know that one of his peers or friends or neighbors heard him make this comment and clearly didn't agree with him. So they reported him to the government, which got him in trouble. I'm pretty sure the group that they reported him to is called the Inminbon.
Yeah. Adding on to Luke, because the rest of his peers don't agree with him, and the Inminbon has the ability to report such acts, this has caused Chang-bo to get in trouble. Also, in paragraph 4 it says, since the country was too poor and the power supply too unreliable for electronic surveillance, state security relied on human intelligence, snitches. The newspaper would occasionally run feature stories about heroic children who ratted out their parents. So these children are said to be heroic. They are honored for snitching on people, which is encouraging people even more to rat others out.
So not only do they not agree with him, but they're being encouraged to report people who disagree with the government.
So we might see this as abnormal because we live in the U.S., but for them, this is all they know. They are taught to report people.
Their knowledge is restricted.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like in a communist country, there's safety and protection, like not knowing what their leaders are doing.
You would consider this safety?
Well, in some ways it could be considered safety.
I disagree on every level.
Well, that's your opinion, but what do you think it is?
I think that they are, in fact, preventing a better community from growing, like by blocking out all of their ideas and all of their information. I guess they're blocking out some negative aspects, but they themselves are negative and not as advanced. They would be harming their citizens and not protecting them.
The country doesn't want people to rebel against them, so they don't know many things. They tell this during their childhood and while they're being brought up, so it's in their brains.
What he is trying to say is safety is protection from outside information. Their country is telling them they are being protected from the outside world.
Okay, they are being brainwashed, and the people who aren't being brainwashed completely are still kind of being influenced. It says here, he always put a positive spin on facts, although he tried to keep them at least plausible. He's putting a positive spin on facts, like he doesn't have to do that, but he does anyway. Growing up, he has always been taught that the government is good and safe. It also says, Chang-bo knew better than anyone that the supposed triumphs of the North Korean economy were fabrications. He had good reason to scoff at the report about the rubber boots. He knows and he sees the bigger picture and the whole story, and it's not like he's just another civilian, like his wife, who doesn't understand the government is brainwashing them and not giving them rights.
So now that I've heard both sides, I think that we can come to the conclusion that the people of North Korea are being shielded and feel safe, but don't necessarily know how safe.
So essentially, Chang-bo made a comment which insulted the Inminbon and therefore was reported to his government. In North Korea, citizens have limited rights, so to us, Chang-bo getting arrested is strange.
Exactly. Here in the U.S., we get to say what we want and protest what we want without any ramifications. If Changbo lived in the U.S., he would be able to express himself freely.
Okay, on the last part, use examples from the text and past experiences demonstrating how people are treated in both countries. Do you think we're ready to get started?
Yeah.
Yeah.